Hi, it's Rock and welcome back to Viper Tactical Training. We're out and about today. Just a short tutorial on situational awareness. And I've picked a quiet road to do this on today. What we're going to look at is not what everybody else has been looking at when they look at situational awareness. And this is one of the things that if you're not doing these 3.5 things, you're not going to be able to be situationally aware, because you're going to be flooded with massive amounts of information. And the unfortunate phrase that everybody using these days is your head on a swivel, and that's what it's going to be like. So what I want to do today is talk about the ground itself, not about the people on the ground, the threats that we're looking at from out there. So I've picked a quiet street to do this on, and we're going to look at the ground itself. So let me just quickly turn the camera around, and here we are. You can see the street ahead. So what we're going to do is look at the actual ground that we're on, and what we need to do is break this ground down into three areas. We're going to look at what's called the close ground, which is where the threats are going to be, something that can affect us pretty much immediately. Then we're going to look at the middle ground and the far ground, and we have to look at these in three different ways. What can affect us immediately in the close ground we're going to observe. So the middle ground is the distance between obviously the close ground and the far ground. The far ground is the furthest point that we can physically see, and the middle ground, as you can see now, we've got a guy walking towards myself. He's in the middle ground. Now when we're walking, I need to observe what is happening in the close ground, and that's just not straight in front of me, but it's to the other side of the road as well, across the street. So when I'm looking at the close ground, I need to observe. I need to be observing, and we're going to look at that in the follow-on videos, what we need to observe, how we observe, and what we're actually looking at, and the difference between looking and seeing is totally different things. The same as there's a difference between hearing and listening, and we'll look at that as well when we're covering this in future videos. So what we're effectively doing is a rolling risk assessment. So as you can see now, as I'm walking along the street, the far ground now is just where that car's come from, round the corner of the bend. So there's no distances on this, it is what you can actually see as you're walking along your street. And this can be on the street, in a supermarket, in a shopping centre, on a train platform. You're always going to have the close ground, the middle ground, and the far ground. So as I come out here, and what we're going to look at in future videos as well, is how we move tactically along the road. And this is why I've just picked a nice quiet road today, just to explain this. So the three things we're looking at, the close ground, and that might not just be threats either, physical threats from people. It can also be, what route am I going to go? So I can see up ahead that the road is a little bit more icier than the pavement. So is that going to affect the way I want to walk, where I want to walk? I can see that the pavement further on, because it's been in shadow all morning, is still icy. When I'm looking at the close ground, I'm going to be looking at the people around me, the vehicles around me, and as you'll notice, the side of the street which I'm walking down now, I want to be walking towards the traffic if at all possible. If it's not, I will be walking with the traffic coming towards my back, so away from me, and I want to cross over as soon as possible so I can always see vehicles that are coming towards me. Obviously, we'll go through why that is in future videos. So now you can see the length of the road there. So the far ground is, to me, where that lamppost is. You can see the signpost in front of you, and then we've got the telegraph pole. We've got a vehicle just pulling in at the top of the street there, has just disappeared, and then in the middle ground, coming towards the close ground, we've got these two people walking towards us. So as I'm walking along the road, I'm not just looking, but I'm listening as well. I'm listening for people talking, footsteps, vehicles. So I'm looking at and listening for various sounds. Now this isn't just on a plain view. I've also got heightened views. So I'm in a residential area today. So we've just got the normal 2-story houses. But if we're in a city block, we could have skyscrapers, tall, the tall building type. So depending on what we're doing, where we are, what threat we're facing, we've got lots of different angles we've got to look at as well. So when we're looking at 360-degree awareness, it's not just on the plane that we are looking at eye level. It is also what's above us, what's happening around us, and we're looking at a bubble, not just on a linear aspect. So the 0.5 aspect, which is what I've been doing while I've been walking along the road here, is periodically checking behind me. So I can either stop and look behind me from the way I've come to see if anybody is following me, if there's been possible threats where I've been looking at someone and I'm not too sure about them, they've passed me, and I just want to have a quick stop and a quick look to see if they've stopped, maybe turned around, started following me, or they've taken notice of me. And I want to be doing this periodically. So it can just be a quick glance as I go backwards, and I'm walking backwards now, and then come back, or I can actually stop and have a quick look, 2 minutes, see what's happening around me. Are there any threats? And again, observing the close ground. We don't actually observe, or we can't observe, the middle ground and the far ground. So what we need to do is scan what's happening up there. Again, this is when I come on to Cooper's colour codes in another video, which is a linear risk assessment. This is stopping us actually walking into what's happening up above on the middle and the far ground. And what we want to do is scan what's happening up there. So if I've now got a situation that's happening at the top of the road there, and I'm scanning it, I don't want to be walking towards that direction if I think it's something that's going to be a threat or a problem towards me. So I'm going to observe the close ground, scan the middle and the far ground. So when I'm scanning, I'm just taking a broad brush look at what is going on. Is there a load of people all starting to run? Is there scaffolding up there that might stop me walking that way? Is that going to cause a problem? Is there a traffic build-up? If I'm driving, I need to be doing the same sort of thing. So what we're doing all the time is a rolling risk assessment, and we are hopefully negating walking into a situation that we don't want to get involved in. So like we said before, I'm not just going to be looking at my side of the street, I'm going to be looking across the road. So in the middle distance now, I've got a person walking towards me. I'm going to come on to what we're going to be looking for, what we're going to be deciding on. What this gives us is a reactionary gap, and the difference between a reaction and a response is that reactions, and I don't like using the word reaction. A response is a trained aspect. A reaction is an untrained aspect. So a reaction is you've been taken by surprise, or you don't know what to do in that incident or situation that's going on. A response is a trained action, part of what your planning procedure has been, and we need to be able to respond correctly to what is going on around us. So when we look at the next videos, we're going to pick a busy market street and we'll start looking and observing, scanning and observing those around me as we walk along, as I walk along the road. So now, as you can see, the far distance is getting shorter because I can't see as far. The far ground is quite close. The middle ground's closer, and as you can see, it's a nice quiet street, so I don't have to observe too much in my close ground. And I'm going to cover everything about where you walk on the street, how you walk on the street, how you move tactically, and you know, where we've got side roads, crossroads, where we've got side alleys coming out of the between the buildings. We're going to look at all that within the next few videos, but what I wanted to do was show you how to break down the ground into the far ground, the middle ground and the close ground, observing the close ground because that is where the threats are going to come from. Not the people that you can see on the other side of the road there, they aren't a threat, they're too far away. So I've now got a response time to decide, and that's what we're looking at when we are walking down the road. We've always got to have time to respond correctly. When we're in the close ground, we may have scanned somebody in the middle distance that's now walked towards us as we're walking along the road, and they're now in the close ground. So what we have to do, we have a few seconds to observe them and then decide whether they're a threat or not. If they're not a threat, great. If they are, we do suspect something, you know, what do we do about it? The closer we get, so I've now got a young boy and his dad and a dog coming down here. So not a keen fan on dogs. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cross the road, and like I said before, if I'm walking the correct way, get on the right side of the road as soon as possible. So we've got a vehicle coming up from the far distance now. So because it's a narrow road, this is nearly a single track road because of the car parked. The car's parked on the side of the road. This is really a single track road. So we can see these coming past. And again, like we said, if there's something going on in the far distance or the middle distance that we're not too sure of, we can always take an alternate route and decide to go some other way. So remember, when you're walking along with everything, if you've been taught things about what to look for on the ground, closing that distance down all the time, giving yourself a response time to action, to what's going on around you. So what I'm going to do, let me just turn this camera around again. So we've just talked about the ground itself, the close ground, the immediate area around us, how that can affect us, what we need to be observing. So we're observing the close ground there, and then how, you know, we break down the middle ground and the far ground and scanning it, and that's both sides of the road, both sides of the pavements. What we're going to do on the next few videos, like I said, we're going to come on to a busy market area, and we'll start going through what you need to be observing in the close ground and how we scan and see what's happening in the far ground and the middle ground. Okay, so if you're enjoying these videos, and again, just a short tutorial, if you're enjoying these videos, please hit the like, subscribe button. I'll put a link below of where you can get the 9.5 9.5 tips on how to stay situationally aware while you're out and about. We do have a situational awareness workshop next weekend. So what I'll do, I'll put a link down there on where you can book your place and join that workshop. But for now, I hope that's been helpful. Please, I'd like to see your comments on this, see what your thoughts are on this. Drop me a DM, drop a link, and don't forget you can also get in touch on social media, on Facebook, Paul Rock Higgins, on LinkedIn, Paul Rock Higgins, and on Twitter, Paul Rock Higgins. You can also look up Viper Tactical Training as well. So that's that for now. I hope you all have a good day. Stay dangerous. Rock.